Good evening. You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Cynthia Ng. Government launches one-stop website for COVID data, and Malaysian women given equal citizenship rights. That's coming up. The Ministry of Health will be sharing more data with the public through its newly launched website COVIDNow. Health Minister Khairy Jamaluddin said this is part of the ongoing efforts to increase transparency in data sharing.
Kita percaya bahawa dengan adanya perkongsian maklumat ini, ia akan dapat membantu bukan hanya Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia tetapi juga rakyat untuk buat analisa. But I would also like to say that when we release a lot of this data, there will be a lot of interpretation and analysis. So the Ministry of Health will continue to provide insights and try to interpret the data. But of course, we welcome, especially experts, universities, data scientists, to also try to interpret some of the trends and share with us so that the whole of society can have access to this data and have better insights on how to live with COVID-19.
The website will be updated at 11:59 p.m. daily and will, among others, provide granular data on active cases and where they are located, either at home, quarantine and treatment centres or hospitals. For those who want to access the data, they can visit covidnow.moh.gov.my.
Meanwhile, on the subject of vaccination for teenagers, Khairy said efforts will be stepped up in parallel with the reopening of schools. As for the timeline, Khairy said that it will be announced by the Senior Minister of Education, Datuk Dr. Razzie Jidin.
Tapi apa yang kita telah setuju adalah serentak dengan proses pembukaan sekolah itu, kita akan terus mempergiatkan pemberian vaksinasi kepada golongan remaja. So it will happen in parallel, ya. Sama ada kita dapat selesaikan semua sebelum perancangan pembukaan yang akan diumumkan oleh Menteri Pendidikan. Saya rasa mungkin tidak sempat semuanya, but we will continue to vaccinate, ya, while the Ministry of Education announces the timetable for school reopening.
The High Court today ruled that children born overseas to Malaysian mothers should by default be conferred Malaysian citizenship. The landmark decision means Malaysian mothers will finally be on equal basis as Malaysian men to pass their nationality to their children.
Judge Dato' Akhtar Tahir ruled that Article 14 of the Federal Constitution regarding citizenship rights be read in harmony with Article 8, Bracket 2 of the Federal Constitution, which prohibits gender-based discrimination. He said the word father must be read to include mothers and their children entitled to citizenship under the law. He added that the case does not seek to change policy, instead apply existing law to solve grievance of the plaintiffs. In December 18 last year, 6 Malaysian women and the family support group Family Frontiers filed legal suit to the decades-old law they called discriminatory. Previously, Malaysian mothers with foreign spouses could not automatically pass on citizenship to their children born outside Malaysia. They had to apply for the child's citizenship and reapply if the application was unsuccessful. Currently, Malaysia is one of the 25 countries in the world that do not give mothers and fathers equal rights under the citizenship law.
The government is looking to reduce the price of COVID-19 self-test kits by end of this year to make them more accessible to all. Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz said that it is among the measures under the National Recovery Plan.
He said the government is also planning to set up a call centre to offer immediate assistance in managing COVID-19 causes. Booster shots or multi-year vaccination programs are also in consideration to be included in public healthcare protocols. He added that whole genome sequencing is being undertaken by the Institute of Medical Research to better detect the spread of new variants, while technology and mobile data usage will be expanded to enhance contact tracing.
The Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation aims to create 5 unicorn companies in the country in the next 5 years. Its Minister, Datuk Sri Dr. Adam Baba, said that 123 million ringgit has been allocated for the development of these unicorn companies.
The allocation will be distributed to several companies including MAVCAP Cradle Fund, Kumpulan Modal Perdana and MTDC. He also congratulated online used car trading platform Kasem for recently becoming the first Malaysian unicorn company, proving that local entrepreneurs have the talent to succeed. Unicorns are startup companies that are worth more than $1 billion.
Poverty alleviation will be one of the government's main priority areas in the upcoming 12th Malaysia Plan. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Economy, Datuk Sri Mustafa Muhammad, said that Malaysia's poverty rate grew to 8.4% last year, largely due to the economic effects of containing the pandemic. This was up from 5.6% in 2019. The number of poor households in Malaysia increased to 640,000 in 2020 compared to 405,000 in 2019.
This is a wake-up call for all of us as policymakers to step up and implement the reforms and policies necessary to curb poverty and improve the standards of living of those among us whom luck has dealt an unkind hand.
The 12th Malaysia Plan is expected to be tabled in Parliament on September 27th. Opinion is divided on reopening of schools after almost 2 years lost to the pandemic. But is everything in place? Tonight on Consider This, we speak to our guests about the risks and trade-offs. That's coming up right after AWANI Tonight. We will take a quick break. Stay with us.
Semua dah sedia? Jom! Walau apa pun gerakan atau kepanasan, Sunsilk dengan minyak argan dan pati bunga camellia membersihkan dan menyuburkan rambut secara mendalam, menjadikannya 5 kali lebih lembut dan harum. Sunsilk.
Ingin jual dan beli kereta dengan mudah secara atas talian? Tak perlu risau tentang dokumen atau ke bank. Kasem akan menguruskan dan boleh menghantar di mana jua anda berada. Senang je, layari kasem.my. Kasem je lah.
Astro AWANI Link with Google Malaysia is bringing you a series of digital workshops through our Jiwa SME initiative aimed at helping you level up. www.link.astroawani.com. Register now.
Welcome back. House prices in Malaysia have remained unaffordable despite the sector facing the issues of oversupply and overhang for the longest time. RevStar's Lilian Wee outlines a few measures the government can explore to make having a home more attainable, including a relook of policies to strengthen the rental market.
I believe that housing is a fundamental right, regardless of your income, your class, race, gender, etc. And so the goal here is to ensure that everyone, right, whether during the pandemic or non-pandemic times, will have a secure roof over their heads, regardless of your housing tenure, whether it's home ownership or whether it's rental. When you're asking about solutions, I think in the short term, the government can look into protecting and strengthening the rental market. In relation to the pandemic, for example, we can look at, say, providing subsidies, grants, rent moratoriums, not only to B40 groups, but also to renters in general. And there also needs to be a clear guide on how to protect tenants through a more comprehensive tenancy act, which I believe is going to be built or tabled this year, right? I think we also need to address the increasing housing price head-on. What we can do is perhaps look at imposing stricter conditions that can be attached to loan guarantees or tax rebates given to developers. Another thing we can look at is also requiring developers to really reinvest their profits back into providing more affordable housing, that's number one, with also holistic amenities and making sure that they are built in areas that is safe, with vibrant communities. And most fundamentally is also to build them in locations where the demand for these affordable housing is at.
On to international news. The United Nations nuclear watchdog IAEA is in Japan to review a controversial plan to release treated water from the Fukushima nuclear plant into the sea. The Japanese government intends to dilute the water and release it starting 2023, sparking protests from neighboring countries over environmental and safety concerns.
More than 1 million tons of processed water has accumulated in tanks at the crippled plant since it went into meltdown following a tsunami in 2011, including liquid that was used to cool damaged reactors. During its inspection, the International Atomic Energy Agency will consult experts, including from China and South Korea, which have reacted angrily to the release plan. Japan says the plan to dilute and release the water over several decades is safe. The IAEA said it will ensure its review is comprehensive and objective.
Japan will extend a state of emergency in Tokyo and other regions until the end of this month to prevent hospitals from being overwhelmed. Despite a downward trend in new COVID infections, Economy Minister Yasutoshi Nishimura said the medical systems in 19 prefectures were in a severe situation. He said that COVID-19 restrictions should be kept in place ahead of the national holidays in late September, when domestic travel is expected to rise. The Japanese government is also mulling easing of restrictions after most of the population is vaccinated. This includes cutting down the quarantine period for international travelers entering Japan from 14 to 10 days. 200 Americans and other foreigners who remained in Afghanistan will leave on charter flights from Kabul after the Taliban agreed to their evacuation. The move comes 2 days after the Taliban announced an interim government. According to a Reuters report, a U.S. official said the Taliban were pressed to allow the departures by U.S. Special Representative Zalmay Khalilzad. The departures will be among the first international flights to take off from Kabul airport since U.S. forces withdrew from Afghanistan on August 31st. It was reported that Americans and other foreigners were stranded for days in the northern city of Mazar-i-Sharif because their private charters had not been allowed to depart. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, however, denied that the Taliban had blocked their departure, but said some people in the group lacked valid travel documents. A dozen Hong Kong pro-democracy activists pleaded guilty to participating and inciting others to take part in the 2020 candlelight vigil to mark the Tiananmen Square crackdown. Now, this comes amid a clampdown on dissent in Hong Kong, which has seen dozens of activists arrested.
The 12 who pleaded guilty on Thursday include lawyer Albert Ho, former lawmaker Eddie Chu, and Figo Chan, a former leader of the Civil Human Rights Front. Ho, Chan and 5 others were also charged with inciting others to participate in the assembly. They are a part of a larger group of over 20 activists who were arrested over the vigil at Victoria Park on June 4th assembly.
That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. I'm Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching.
Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia KKM melancarkan laman web baru COVIDNow yang boleh dilayari bermula hari ini.